Hi, Sarah here for the Scrap in Colour YouTube hop for the Love of Pretty Paper Facebook group. If you've reached me, you've reached the end of the rainbow. I'm doing violet, so I'm using lots of purples and pinks for my layout. If you want to join in and scrap lift this one, then feel free to take all elements or maybe just one of the mixed media techniques I used today. There'll be a few, trust me, there always is. So to begin with here, I'm creating a background to layer up my embellishments and photo cluster onto. I'm using Distress Oxide re-inkers, so I just put a little drop in the palette, add a little bit of water. Then I'm just using some makeup sponges there just to blend out the colour to create a nice cloudy ethereal effect. And then, because they're oxides, I'm adding a little water there, as you can see. Gives a lovely distressed droplets of water there. And I'm coming back in just with the lighter of the two colours, the pink and the lavender, just to add an extra layer there, just because I felt like the colour was a little too deep for the papers I want to work with. As you can see there, I always have my papers, my main paper to one side, so I can just kind of make sure it matches in nicely. And just blending those colours in and then coming back in with some more water. This time I don't leave it to dry, I just put it on and then immediately dab it straight off, so the actual effect is slightly more muted. It doesn't give me such a stark kind of effect as the first time round. And so then I'll just leave that to dry for a few minutes. I'm using Vicky Bouton mixed media paper today, so you don't need any gesso. It can take a lot of mixed media, and I do use a lot on this, so it can handle a lot of water, a lot of gel, a lot of everything you want to use, so it's really good. So next up, I just want to add a little bit of detail with a stamp, but I don't want that stark black, so I'm just stamping off to the side and then adding it onto my page. And I just manipulate the stamp to fit into the smaller areas because I don't want it to go outside the colour. And again, with my gel medium here, I don't want to go outside the colour. I want it all to be within the area that I've already made purple here. And with this gel medium, if I left it, it would look nice on its own because it would just dry clear and just give a glossy finish. But today I'm just going to add some violet glass glitter. This stuff is great because it's large particles, and as you'll see, I literally tipped the whole lot on there, let it dry and then tip it off. But because it's larger particles, it doesn't get so much. It still gets everywhere, it's glitter, but it doesn't get absolutely everywhere because it's not fine. And as you can see, it gives a nice sparkly finish. Now, I didn't have many purpley papers because they really haven't been featured that much in scrapbooking, but recently I know there's a few more, but I'm using up my stash, trying to be good, as you do. And so I picked the papers from a very old paper pad by Lily of the Valley from back when I used to do card making before I started scrapbooking. And I'm just using a few different papers. I'm going to layer them behind my photo, which I've backed on tissue paper just to add a little bit of texture and a nice soft finish. And then with the papers, I'm tearing them and ruffling the edges with scissors. Do be careful if you do this, because obviously scissors sharp. You know the drill. And as you can see, I literally just go around each paper, ruffle up the edges, and it just adds a nice lift to the paper, a little bit more texture. Again, for texture, I'm adding some gauze or cheesecloth, depending what you call it. And because of the glitter and then the gauze, I'm using my gel just to get my first layer down. After this, I'll just use my tape runner. But because I want this to stick down really well, I use that just to get my first layer done. Then after that, it's a case of adding photo, foam, and then paper layer, foam, over and over again, just to add a lot of lift to my photo, because I'm using quite three-dimensional embellishments, so I don't want my photo to be sunk back. I want it to be as forward as all my embellishments are. So as you can see, just adding all these layers on, I'm making sure that I leave a nice big gap all the way around the edge in case I want to tuck embellishments underneath, that way I don't have to lift the side, and I'm giving myself enough room to slide in 3-dimensional embellishments in between the papers. Now I'm using some resins by Art for Days. I'm going to alter these by just adding a coat of gesso to each one, and then once that's dry I'll come back in with the same colours I used at the beginning so everything matches in nicely together, and I'll work from light. As you can see, I've literally put a tiny drop of each colour because they are like because they are re-inkers, you only need a tiny bit. Just add a little bit of water to help it move around, and I basically work through my colours with each embellishment, including the die cut leaves I have there as well, and just kind of work my way in from light to dark, moving to the centre with the darkest colour, and then I just let the water bleed out into them so that they naturally just sort of blend to different colours there. And I've made 3 of these die cut leaves because I just want a little bit of a base, because I know that I'm going to be adding flowers on top, so I just wanted a little bit of texture behind there as well. I'm only adding my gel medium just to where they're stuck behind the paper, because when I add my embellishments on top that will stick them down anyway. And then I'm just going to first of all place my butterflies down, as they're kind of my major embellishments for this, and then I'll add the rest of my resin shapes, and then I'll build from there. And I'm just trying to make sure that I keep things spread out so I've got a little bit of a mix going on all around the layout so it's all nicely balanced. I like to tuck things underneath. I'll go underneath sometimes and then over the top sometimes, just to make sure that it all looks nice and 3-dimensional. And then I'm going, sorry if you can hear my little boy, I'm going to do a dry run with my flowers. I've left this in. It takes me ages to do this bit, so it's quite hard to edit it, to be fair. But once I decide where I'm putting them, I do the same thing. I get my gel medium and just stick them down. And I just try and mix my flowers up a lot so there's a nice variety. And then I'm coming in with some rainbow resins here as well, and adding those purple flowers. Then some gems, which I'm scattering it around the edge, but then a few in amongst the flowers, a couple on the paper cluster as well. And then again, same thing this time with the sequins. I've got iridescent and then some nice pinky purple ones, and I'm just going to dot them all around the edge and then put a few in amongst the embellishments. Kitty cat there. Always on my desk at some point. And here's a bit of a close-up, and because I want it all to blend out slightly, I want to add a few splashes of colour. So as you can see, it looks like I've dumped a load of rubbish on my desk. I'm basically just masking off the areas I don't want to get colour on, and then I'll just make sure that the paint splatters go everywhere except for on my photo. I'm just using some lilac and white paint there just to finish it off, and then I just fancied adding a couple more little dots here and there, and that's some dewdrops, so they're very clear, very pale purple. And that is me done. So thanks for joining me today. I hope you're enjoying all the challenges this weekend, and I hope you'll give either all or some of this layout a go. So have a great weekend, everyone. Thanks again. Bye.